Hello and welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today we're going to be talking about the new Deep Rock stats that have just been released. They were released just yesterday, I believe, and this is the 2022 year in review. So let's go over all the things that have changed in Deep Rock over the last year. Well, maybe not everything, but at least what's listed here, because there's been some minor things that have changed, a lot of bug fixes, certain overclocks being tweaked around, certain weapons being tweaked around, and of course us getting the new Season 3, I guess. Depends on when you're counting this year. Counting it now, actually nothing has changed because we've only been in this year for like 12 days. So talking about 2022, there has been more than 5.5 million units sold total in Deep Rock. Most of them coming from 2022. I guess that makes sense because in 2022 at the start of the year, that was when Deep Rock was released for Xbox and for PlayStation, and the amount of people playing the game suddenly expanded pretty rapidly. It also expanded more on Steam though too. I did notice a larger amount of people playing generally. Once it came to PlayStation and Xbox, I think we were still technically in Season 1. I could be wrong about that. Maybe we were in Season 2 and then it moved to Season 3. But yeah, that's pretty awesome. So there was 2.3 million units sold last year. That is pretty awesome. That's actually a million more than the previous year. So on average, people have played 42 hours and 45 minutes. That is a pretty long amount of time for that to be the average, considering most games aren't that high. There are certain games, plenty of RPGs that get that high, and MMOs and stuff like that. 500,000 players that have had more than 100 hours, total amount of years, total sessions, a nice little graph chart here, so that's kind of cool. We've got the user base thing. Reviews are pretty cool, because Deep Rock has always had extremely overwhelmingly positive reviews. I think it absolutely deserves it. Most people would agree that this game is super fun, especially with friends. I imagine there's probably a percentage of negative views that are bizarre, like in every game on Steam. Same with plenty of ones where it's just like they didn't work on their computer or something like that, which is understandable, kind of a bummer. But surprisingly, the daily active users is very high at 113,000, which is up by 75,000. So I guess that kind of makes sense. Again, this is only on Steam too. This is not counting people on Xbox or PlayStation because there's no way of monitoring those numbers or anything. I would imagine you would at least have to double this number, if not triple this number, to get an accurate amount of everybody playing, potentially even more than that, because even though this is daily active users, I don't know if this counts if you're like in private or if you're counted as offline on Steam. So it's probably even more than that. I wouldn't be surprised if Deep Rock was hitting an average of 500,000 people online any given day. Then we've got monthly users, average concurrent users, and then the peak concurrent users. I think this was right as Season 3 started up because everybody was hyped up for Season 3. Which makes sense. I'm sure the same thing will happen when Season 4 comes out. There will be a really big spike. There basically always is in every type of game like this. Oh, I could have just looked down here. Platforms during 2022. Yeah, it was in January that PlayStation and PlayStation 5 got. And then Xbox Series X/S was released in September. Huh. I thought it would come out at the same time. This is actually pretty cool too. I didn't read the social section here. Deep Rock has ranked 6th of the most followed games on Steam of all time. And the Discord server is in the top 25 of active gaming servers in the world. That is really cool. So all of this is pretty awesome. The main thing I really wanted to get into, though, was the in-game stats, because I find these the most interesting, where we have the top 5 most causes of death on Hoxies. Number 1, kind of unsurprisingly, goes to Gravity. Gravity claims 52 million dwarfs. That sounds about right. That's usually the way that you die, either trying to get away from something, end up falling off a cliff, drilling off a cliff, just playing scout, falling off of something. A lot of deaths are going to be from fall damage from basically every class. Second most dangerous is Glyphid Grunts at 24 million, so the most common enemy type that you're going to be facing is only half, or not even half, as lethal as Gravity is. It makes sense that Grunts are as high as they are. Grunts are the most common type of enemy that you're going to be fighting across every difficulty, so I'm also not sure if Grunts themselves count for slashers and guards too. I would imagine that they might because they're all the same family type, but I could be wrong about that. Third most deadly thing on Hoxies is friendly fire. So your fellow dwarfs are the most dangerous. And it's kind of fitting that they put Driller right here too. I can imagine plenty of these were C4 related events. I'm also not sure if friendly fire is considered, or if it's considered friendly fire if you blow yourself up. Because if so, I've seen plenty of drillers, and myself included, accidentally blow themselves up trying to get materials. with their C4 or with their EPC. I've also seen plenty of Ingis accidentally blow themselves up with nukes on the grenade launcher, or something like Plascrete Catalyst on the Shard Diffractor. There's plenty of ways to accidentally blow yourself up in this game or accidentally down yourself. This probably also spiked quite a bit this season because when the new grenades came out, they were extremely dangerous for friendly fire, at least 2 of them. Drillers could 2-shot anybody in the game besides Gunner, and that was only if you were at full health and I think had all the health upgrades and whatnot. Then you could take a 3rd hit as Gunner because it counted as explosive damage and Gunner has resistance towards that. And the Gunner's grenade, the lead burster, the tactical lead burster also did insanely high friendly fire damage and could down people very quickly. So I can't imagine those helping this statistic all that much. Again, also if it counts friendly downs of you just downing yourself, that would also kind of add up to that. The 4th most dangerous thing is dreadnoughts, which I guess makes sense because usually people can go down multiple times during a dreadnought fight. Dreadnoughts do really high damage. And like has 5, they can basically one-shot you. I think all of them have some way of doing that. The twins can potentially hit you with multiple spikes, potentially blow fire on you, or potentially fire out that flame shotgun thing that they do. That could all one-shot you, I believe, or have a very high chance of doing it. The Hive Guard can throw his pine cones at you, and those will one-shot you on the higher difficulties. And the regular Dreadnought, if he does the slam, can also one-shot you. So plenty of ways to die to the Dreadnoughts. Praetorians coming in at number 5 is kind of surprising to me, because I figured they would be higher up since they're a more common enemy than Dreadnoughts. Usually, you're only going to be fighting Dreadnoughts on an elimination mission or in a deep dive. There's not going to be a whole lot of instances where Dreadnoughts just sort of spawn around the place. I'm also kind of curious what the other 5, like in the top 10 would be. If I was to guess, I'd probably bet Mactera would be up there, probably Acid Spitters would be up there, maybe Rollers as well, and potentially the bots. I think those would all be safe bets to say that they're up there too. At least if all bots are included, unless they're just split up amongst other things. And then we also have the amount of total downs and total revives. So as of last year, 278 million dwarves were downed. However, 226 million of them were also rezzed. So there is a very high chance of if you go down, you'll probably be rezzed. I'm also not sure if this would count if you immediately left the game, because I have had matches where people have joined, died, and immediately left. I don't know if that would be considered a down, because then obviously you couldn't res them, but I know it also wouldn't count towards the end game total either. So maybe the downs would actually be higher if you did include that. There is also still a significant amount of supply pod related downs, with almost 4 million people going down to supply pods. Now, this could be explained a couple of ways. One is that you're not paying attention, you get hit by them. That happens every once in a while to basically everybody. Another one would just be potentially panicking and just staying around where you think the pod is going to be and not realizing you're standing directly underneath it. That's another way. And then the final way, and probably the most common way, is people trying to play chicken with the supply pod, which can be pretty fun, but is also quite dangerous if it doesn't work out in your favor. So, yeah, I can understand why so many people went down. Surprisingly, Bosco is the least lethal enemy in all of Hoxie's, at only downing about 2,500 players. That's pretty good. I don't know exactly how you get downed by Bosco, because he won't attack you. I imagine this is just people accidentally blowing themselves up with Bosco's rockets, because that's the only way I can think of Bosco actually being responsible for downing you. So, if you do find this happening, maybe switch him over to cryo missiles, because those wouldn't count as downs. And see, we've got total materials mined at 14.8 billion materials mined. That is a lot of materials mined in total, with 377 million of that being Phasianite. So, plenty of new hats, plenty of new cosmetics. That's really cool. I like that they introduced the Phasianite as well. It means you don't need money to get your cosmetics if you would like to buy them that way. Probably one of my favorite updates that came out recently was them just giving Mission Control more lines for whenever we ping the gold and say we're rich, or when we ping the mushroom and just say mushroom, because those ones are pretty great. Also, as of filming this video, they've just barely released the preview to this year's Lunar Fest, which is pretty cool. So we're getting a bunny hat. Very awesome. We're probably going to get another hat in addition to this, because usually we get 2 each time. And of course, we'll get a complete makeover of the Abyss Bar. We'll also be getting new quests or I guess new assignments that we can go on, so we can get more of these things and also more just blank matrix cores, weapon cores, all that stuff. So in total, 2022 was a great year for Deep Rock Galactic. We got Season 2 and we got Season 3, which is pretty awesome. I guess technically the end of Season 1 too, so also really cool. We got new weapons, we got new grenades, we got new mission types, we got new modifiers, and I'm really looking forward to 2023 for Deep Rock. I think we're going to get a bunch new cool stuff. They've already talked about potential perk reworks. They've talked about adding additional overclocks to the game, especially for older weapons, and they've talked about a few other upcoming changes, so good on Ghost Ship. So thank you guys so very much for watching this. I hope you guys enjoyed it. You guys have a great rest of your day, and I will talk to you next time. Bye-bye!